Welcome to the Business of You podcast, the show dedicated to helping service entrepreneurs build a better brand to grow a bigger business. I'm your host, Michelle Griffin, and I'm here each week empowering you to put yourself out there, sharing actionable tips and inspiring stories so you can create your personal brand, grow your dream business, and build your future, all while making more income and more impact doing exactly what you love. I'm super excited you're here. Now let's get going with today's show. All right, welcome everybody to another episode. Today's show, I'm super excited because I kid you not, everybody when you read on their about section says, when I was a little kid, I've always wanted to write a book, or I wrote stories. And I'm the dork who actually was true. In fact, when I was in 7th grade, I wrote little self-help, little books. So today we're all in the business world, right? And writing books can really help us. Today, I'm super honored to bring my friend and my guest, Diego Pineda, I think I pronounced his name right, about how to write a book that sells your business or helps you in your business, which I think I butchered the topic. So welcome to the show. So glad you're here.
Thank you, Michelle. It's an honor to be here with you.
Absolutely. Okay, so I think I got the title wrong. Tell me what we're going to talk about today, because first we're going to tell us what you're doing. A little bit about your background. You're an accomplished writer and you help write books and coach people to write books, especially people in the solopreneur and thought leadership space. So give us a little high level view of what you're doing right now.
Right. So I've been writing for, I think, my whole life. I wrote my first novel when I was in 9th grade.
Oh, wow.
And I always love writing, doing many things. Writing it's my passion. And my mission is also to help other people write their books, get ideas into the world. And because I'm a business person as well and a marketer by profession, and thought leaders through their books, through their ideas. And what better way to do that than through a book where you have all your knowledge, your processes, your frameworks in one place. And that's something that will just get you out there and make you, the expert, recognized authority on your topic.
Absolutely. That's so true. I'm all about helping people build their brand authority, and a book. I don't care who you are and what kind of book or what size, either if you self-publish it or New York Times bestseller or whatever, when you say you're an author with a published book, it instantly puts you up on another level. So absolutely thrilled to talk about this topic. It's near and dear to my heart. So let's get into it. So say you're an expert, whatever, all the people who are listening, expert consultants, entrepreneurs, you have this expertise, or maybe you have a framework. Like I have a 7-step framework for my brand building process. You want to get it out in the world. So tell us where we'd start to consider writing a book to promote our business and ourselves and our ideas.
Okay, so that's a very good place to start if you already have an idea or a framework, because some people don't even have an idea, right? Sometimes people come to me and say, how do I get an idea? Well, what do you want out of your business? So the first thing is you want to align your business goals with the topic of your book, right? Maybe you have something that, I want to write a memoir, something that happened to me, but maybe that's not what your business needs, right? So first, what do you want to accomplish in your business? Okay, you want to establish yourself as an expert, or maybe you want to get high ticket clients, so you have to show your expertise and how you can help them. So the first thing is to say, okay, what's my niche? What's my objective? And then that's going to just refine my idea. Okay. Then the way you do it is, okay, if you're a solopreneur or you've been doing podcasting or LinkedIn posts or writing blogs, then you already have a lot of material, right? So you create a table of topics. Okay, this is table of contents where I want to talk about. And then I'm just going to go and use my existing material as the basis for my book. And this is something I teach on my book writing online course. You don't have to do everything from scratch. If you've been working or creating content for a while, you can start from there and just using existing material, then rewriting it. And then when you have that done, you can fill in the gaps just to create your whole book, your outline, and your content.
Okay, so you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. Even if you don't have the idea, look and see what you've been putting out in the world and find a framework or obviously an outline, a common theme. Because hopefully you're doing content that does speak to the problem you solve in the business, right? Because that's what a book should be about, right? Something very specific. And I've always heard write the book your customers want to read, not the one, as you said, that you want to write, right? If you're tying it to a business goal, right? So that's a great first step. So, okay, so that's the first thing. Tie it to your goals, keep it specific to your where you want to get out of it. Now, what's the next step? Saying you want to write a book and doing the writing of the book are two different things. And this is where you really excel or breaking this down. I know in your email course, your newsletter, and then that course you do. So where do we start?
So you have to find, okay, what's your style, right? Are you someone who sits down on a computer or in front of a piece of paper and you can just put your ideas down? Or maybe it's harder for you, maybe it's easy for you to talk, right? So maybe it's easier for you to just speak publicly. So it depends. So for instance, I sit down on the computer and just the blank page inspires me to write. But some people are just afraid of the blank page, right? Some people would say, I just need some dictation software and I can express my ideas. Or I had a client who, she's a coach. She was having trouble just getting her thoughts organized. And I started asking questions. And she said, this is how I explain things to my people who come for coaching. And I said, well, why don't you record your coaching sessions, transcribe them, and use that as the basis for your book? So she said, oh, that's great because people ask me questions and I answer them. So that's what your book is about. You're going to answer their questions. So you just can use the recording, the transcript when you're recording to write your book. So whatever, it's easier for you, find your style just to get everything on paper. And the first thing what I do is you want to write your first draft as fast as you can. Okay. I call it the vomit method. You're just going to vomit on the page, like just write. Don't edit. Don't go and review anything. Just keep writing until you finish the first draft. That's where you have an outline first. That's what we talked about, the table of contents, because you just start filling the gaps and okay, this chapter 1 is about this topic I'm going to write. Then chapter 2, I'm just going to write and just get it out because it's easier to work with something on a page than with a blank page. If you already have something that you can fix it, you can add, you can delete, you can make corrections, but it's going to make your life easier if you just get everything out there with the vomit method, right? Your first draft as fast as you can, and then you can come back after a few days, right? And I just finished my first draft, and I wrote my first draft in 30 days. So it was really fast. And one thing I did, and this is also one of the tips, I interviewed a lot of people, right? So I have all these questions. And when I interview people, they have material for my book, right? I'm just going to use what they told me because they told me that for my book. And I'm going to quote them and I said, okay, this expert says this, and this is what he did. I'm going to tell their story. So just interviewing people is going to give you a lot of material. So I record like through Zoom and the transcripts of the book, the transcripts of the interview, and I use that for my book. So you got a lot of material, then use that, refine it, and then when you have a first draft, it's just a matter of going back and editing. And one more thing is, once you edit, work with a professional editor. That's a top tip, right? Yeah. Publishing a book, it's a team sport. So you need other players, and one important player is an editor to help you refine.
Oh my goodness, you drop so many nuggets right now. I'm just processing them all and I'm glad. And speaking of recording, this is being recorded, of course, but also I hook all this up to Otter AI. All my coaching calls and consulting calls, I hook up to Otter AI. So it live transcribes it all and I have an audio and a thing. So that's a great idea for content. Another example I'm going to throw in the mix. It's more of a curated thing, but it is a book, right? But it's more like other people's thought leadership. But if you want to just say you're an author, I was on a podcast earlier this year, and the author or the podcast host took 50, the book's actually right behind me. I was in one of them. He took some of the top level themed interviews. He published or curated a book, and it says curated by. And that was another fantastic way. So if you have a podcast, that can be a lot of bases. I mean, of course, it's your other guest interviews, but you can add those stories. And I want to applaud you for interviewing people. I absolutely love books with stories and case studies and examples. I don't think there's enough of them, right? We all learn with examples. So I'm excited. I cannot wait for your book, actually. So,
and there's an added benefit to that, right? Because when I interview people, they would say, "Hey, when it's published, come onto my podcast,
yes,
and I'll promote it."
yes.
And there's a funny story I read once that there was a small town newspaper that had the readership was 110%.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that everybody in town read the newspaper, and everybody from other towns around read the newspaper as well. So the circulation was amazing. And the editor of the newspaper would tell the reporters, the secret here is to mention names, put names of people as often as you can, because if people want to read about themselves,
Yes.
so they're going to buy the newspaper to see if they were mentioned. So they would mention everybody, like somebody in the street, they would interview people, witnesses or whatever, or news, local news, and people's names would be there, right? If you have a network and you include your network,
Yep.
or even an experts in your book, they're going to talk about it. They're going to promote it as well.
Absolutely. The whole borrow someone else's audience, kind of a double mix there. So that's great. So I absolutely love that. My big thing is this is where I trip up to what you said too. Just get it out, the ugly first draft. Don't write and edit at the same time. And I am so guilty of that. And that's why I'm sure most people get frustrated. You're like, oh, that word. And then you sit there and wrangle with the word forever. And then you just lost all the flow and the mental and physical energy to write a book, because it is exhausting, you know? Okay, so you have told us how to get in the thing, and I know the specifics. I'm going to plug you already right here. If someone wants the specifics on how to get in that format, I highly suggest, and we'll drop the links in the show notes, to sign up for your email course, or your email like 7-day thing about getting in the zone, right, to start writing. Those are great tips. I just completed that. So we don't have to get in the specifics there, but I did want to mention, how can you write a book when you're scared to write or don't think you're a writer, which you just told us. You don't necessarily have to be. So that's really good. And get an editor for sure. So, okay, with that being said, what are the 3 things that you really need before we get into 3 tips? What are some of the mistakes? Because I always like to highlight mistakes that people should look out for when they want to write their book.
So you mentioned one, it's like writing the book I want to write, like a book for me. Some people say, oh, I just write for me. And I think that's a lot of lies. I mean, if you want to write for you a journal or a diary, it's a great thing. Just write for yourself. But if you're publishing a book, you're writing for someone else. And you have to think about your reader, your niche, right? You need an avatar. That's one mistake people make. They don't write for someone specifically. They write for themselves or someone else. You have to think about, who am I writing? The other mistake is being a perfectionist, taking too much time to think about it, doing so much research. So people say, oh, I'm not ready to write, so I need to do more research, talk to more people, read more books. Then you're never going to start. It's better to start with what you know and then fill in the gaps. Because so for example, I'm writing a book about how solopreneurs, and I did the outline, I did some research, I put my thoughts, but I said, okay, I don't know about this specific topic in this chapter. I'm going to find a person who knows about this and ask them questions, and then I'm going to use that for the chapter. So when you do research that's very focused on the things that you need to fill in, not just research for the sake of studying and reading hundreds of books.
Okay.
So just don't focus too much on research. Do what you need to do. And the other thing is getting to the right mindset. So one mistake people make is, I need inspiration. I need to wait for the muse to hit me. Sorry, but that doesn't happen. At least I've been writing for 20 years and I cannot say that ever I got the muse come. So it's a matter of, I'd say, use the button method. So the button method is put your butt on the chair. Right?
Yes. That reminds me of Stephen Pressfield's book, I always mix up because there's another famous book. Is it The War of Art or The Art of War? I always mix up the title. Have you ever read that book by Stephen Pressfield about the muse and all that? Oh my goodness, you have to read it. It's the best book ever. It's all about writing. And it's on my shelf behind me over there, and it's phenomenal. It's all about the muse and waiting for the muse and how you can't wait for the muse and all the good things you just said. But also, I like the fact that you said, let's get this shipped, as Seth Godin said. Your course is about writing a book in 90 days. I mean, we're all busy here. We're trying to promote our business, build a business, a band. Let's get a book out in 90 days. You're doing it in 30. I mean, you wrote it in 30, but you're a pro at it. So 90 days is a reasonable time frame, right?
I think it's a very reasonable time. So
Okay.
it depends on who you ask. Some book coaches will tell you, oh, it takes about 10 months, a year. I mean, it all depends on how much time you put into it. But
Okay.
with the method I created, the framework I created, using existing material, having writing goals per day, I think you can actually do it in pretty much in 90 days.
Okay, that's a good target because I mean, I've even seen the books. We've all seen the books. Write a book in 28 days, write a book in 100 days, 30 days. I mean, that's crazy, but I guess anything can be done, right? But the main thing is just make it a goal and do it. So wonderful tips. So if I want to get started writing a book, anything else you'd add? I decided I want to do it, have the mindset. You told us 3 reasons. Is there anything else? I guess you're going to have to say this is pretty much going to be self-published, right? I mean, if I'm just getting a book out, there's no publisher going to touch me unless, like, you've heard the story of the Miracle Morning book, right? Hal Elrod wrote it as a self-published book, and then it sold millions of copies, and then it got traditional published. But we're not going for New York Times bestseller when we're doing this, right? We're just going to self-publish, get it out to promote our business. Is that correct?
Right. So there's 2 ways to look at it. And I've had some online discussions with people who say, oh, no, I want to be a best-selling author, a New York Times bestseller author, right? Traditional publishing. But here's the thing. Unless you're a professional, right, you want to make your living through selling books, and you need the clout or the reputation from a traditional publisher, then self-publishing is the best way. Why? Because, well, one thing is traditional publishers only publish less than 1% of proposals they get.
Wow.
And they get thousands. You need a literary agent to get your proposals through because most of them don't accept unsolicited manuscripts.
Mm-hmm.
And even getting an agent is hard. So you would have to spend a lot of time querying agents to get one. Your book proposal, then pitching it, then it's a hard sell to get it out there. And then you only get like 5% to 15% of royalties.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes about between 24 and 36 months to get your book out, especially a business book. If I write a book today and it's not going to come out in the next 2-3 years, it's going to be outdated by then.
Exactly.
The business world moves so fast that it's not going to be relevant anymore. So I'm going to have to rewrite something prior to publishing it. So it doesn't make any sense. If you use your book as a marketing tool for your business, you want to get it out there as soon as possible. And the best way is to do it through self-publishing. But you have to do it right, because if not, it looks unprofessional. Hire a good graphic designer to do your book cover, a good editor to make sure it's clean, no typos, no grammatical errors, it makes sense, and just do through Amazon or other of the services out there.
Oh yeah, there's plenty that there's businesses that support that. You're right. I always heard the expression, using a traditional publisher, it's the difference between being famous or being rich, because you don't get anything. They almost sometimes contractually own your work. You can't get it out. They don't promote it for you. So,
Right.
Unless you're a famous person, it's just, you want to go that route. But for business people, for experts, thought leaders, all the people, consultants who have that expertise is self-publishing. And let's face it, it's more economical and available now with all the technology and resources. So kudos to that, right? It changed everything, the internet and self-publishing. Get the gatekeepers out the way. So this has just been a fantastic overview of some of the high level things to start writing a book. Number 1, decide, have the mindset, all the wonderful things you said, get it done, get it shipped out fast. I love everything you said. Well, the way we wrap up is I always ask my guests, what is your favorite like professional or personal mantra that kind of relates to the topic we're talking here that can help our listeners? In your case, write a book or something, being successful in what they do. What did you have for us today?
So there's something I heard a few years ago. It was a quote from somebody, a business coach, that said, the number 1 predictor of success in an early stage business is the speed of execution.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to do with what we're just talking about. Just get it out fast and perfect on the way. Make it perfect during the journey and fix everything. But just the speed of execution. The first one to market has a huge advantage. So just go for it. And I mean, they say that there's a saying at Facebook that says move fast and break things. And that's the innovation mindset, just create new things. And that's why also most of my LinkedIn posts, I will finish with 3 words: think, innovate, lead. And it's just that thought leadership attitude of thinking new ideas, innovative ideas, and getting them out there fast.
Absolutely. Don't sit on the sidelines waiting for permission or for perfection. It will never come. Just get it out there. Well, that is perfect, because this segues into how can we find out more about you and tell us about your book? Because you said Think, Write, Lead, which, that's the name of your newsletter. So tell us how we can find out more about you.
So you can go to my website, diegopineda.ca, and there's a link to my online course, to my newsletter, there's my blog, and also follow me on LinkedIn, where I post every single day tips about thought leadership, writing, book publishing, all that cool stuff. And sign up for my newsletter so you can learn how to write.
Yes, and we're going to put all those in the show notes. And we follow each other on LinkedIn. That's where we met. And your stuff is so good about learning about content marketing, thought leadership, just some really, really good stuff. So definitely go give them a follow. And as soon as you get a date on your book, when it comes out in first quarter 2022, I guess you'll have a link on your website to that, so we can pre-order and check it all out, correct?
Some previews and some freebies as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Once I saw that title, and in fact, here's the thing, I'm just going to throw this in as another idea. When you are in that writing stage, one of the fun things you've been doing recently is showing you're teasing us out with your covers and crowdsourcing and all that stuff. I just remembered now, and I'm hoping you picked the cover that I picked, but I don't know. So you'll have to tease us. But yeah.
I actually took your advice.
You did? Oh, good.
Yeah. I added some colors to that.
Yeah, that was a good cover. So so this has been a phenomenal overview on how to start writing, make that decision. So I hope all of us will just take this advice. And if you have some ideas to get out there, thought leadership framework, or just want to help people with some great advice, get your book out there. So Diego, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. We cannot wait to follow you and learn more about your book. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Michelle. It was a pleasure.
All right, we'll talk soon. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We definitely need more impactful entrepreneurs like you out there. So if you'd like to learn more about how I can help you build your personal brand to grow your business, please check out yourbrandyourbusiness.com. And until next time, you have a brand to build, a message to share, and people to impact. Now go put yourself out there and watch the business of you grow.